Hey guys, I saw a video recently that kind of inspired me to talk about something that I thought was kind of interesting and that not everyone might know. And that is the topic of KDs. And this is something that a lot of us are probably familiar with. If you play the game a lot, I'm sure you're familiar with the idea of playing a match, and you feel like you do pretty well, right? Unfortunately you might lose. You look at your KD and you go, wow, I played great, why did we lose? And that's, I think, something that a lot of us can relate to, especially in solo. It's very easy to think that way. Kills are very important in this game. They do a lot for you. There's a lot of nuance when it comes to those kills, and not all kills are created equally. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, and why your KD isn't always as important as you think it might be. I have a bit of an extreme example right here from one of my friends. This is a bit much. This one's kind of crazy, but as you can see, everyone here has very positive KDs, and everyone here has very mediocre KDs. Yet these teams still won. And you might think, I don't have the replay for this game, but you might think, oh wow, how the hell did these guys lose? And the answer to that, I don't know, because I didn't actually watch this replay. But a lot of the time, the answer to that is, well, the kills came in different ways. To illustrate what I'm kind of talking about here, I'm gonna have a little Sendu page here open. All right, so let's say we're in a situation where, let's just take this simple, so we're going to put this imaginary line. This side is your color. This side is enemy ink, right? Your ink, enemy ink. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? Let's say you kill this guy. You shoot this guy dies. You now have, obviously if you two are the only people on the map, right? This obviously would never happen, but assuming the two of you are the only people on the map, right? You now have access to the entire rest of his side, right? So now this goes away, and now all of this is now yours until this guy respawns, right? Okay, so I think we all understand that. That's pretty straightforward, right? You get a kill, and there's nobody else on the map, so you can just kind of paint the rest of the map for free. So now let's take a little bit of a different example. Ignoring matchups and all that. Let's just ignore the weapon choices of all these players for now. Just picture these guys as bodies on the map, right? Nothing more than that. If this guy gets behind here, and this gal comes over, picks this guy off, right? That's great. However, doing this doesn't create any space, right? The line is still here. Getting this kill, we can assume that this is all your color already, for the most part. So killing this guy doesn't really do anything other than, stop him from getting value from you guys, right? The amount of space that you control on the map doesn't change. The only thing that's changing is the amount of players active on their side of the field. So that's the important distinction here is, kills on their side of the map create space for you, and kills on your own side of the map don't necessarily create any space for you. They create an advantage, but they don't create space. And that's kind of the main point that I'm trying to get at here. Now, let's say you are a charger. Let's assume that you're a pen, right? So if you're a pen, right, you're like up here. Okay, we can assume this guy's respawned. if you're a pen, you can kill this gal from here. Let's say you kill this gal, right? Boom, that guy's dead. You, as the pen player, right, you can't move up on this very quickly. You can kill this guy from a long distance, right? But inherently, because you are a longer ranged weapon, it's going to take you longer to swim here and take that space for yourself than it is for a shot player who just killed this guy to do the same. Because if this guy kills the gal, right, he can immediately take this space with his body. The pen has to move. Takes a couple seconds, right, for him to swim up to that spot. And it takes even longer if, you know, let's say you're an E leader, right? It's going to take you even longer to take that space. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is the form of drawing attention. And this is where I think a lot of people don't quite understand the value that this can bring. Let's say this guy is not a pro and instead is a Tetra dually, right? Tetra is a gun that is really good at drawing attention, right? So let's say this guy is like, I don't know, fucking CDS, right? Again, for this part, don't ignore the enemy weapons, right? Just think about these guys. This guy somehow gets behind, and he makes... This guy goes, hey, I need to shoot at him. This guy also goes, hey, I need to shoot at him. Because I don't want to die. And I don't want this guy to get 2. Because if this guy gets 2 picks, we're screwed. These guys are now looking at this guy. This guy is solely just trying to stay alive and keep these guys focused on him. Meanwhile, in mid, we have a 3v2 because these two guys are effectively out of the play while they're looking at this guy. Until this guy dies, these guys are in a 3v2. And this is extremely powerful, obviously, because it's effectively the same thing as if, you know, the shot gets a double or something and creates an actual 3v2. This is a 3v2 in the sense that these two guys are the only people actively fighting in mid right now, while these guys are distracted. Now, the important thing to note with guns like Tetra, Wiper, Sploosh, weapons that like to, you know, just get behind and, you know, play kind of ratty, I guess, like, are just going back here to make people look at them, and they don't really care if they die. Why do they not care if they die? Because if this guy gets a pick, right, he's done nothing but remove this threat. Which, like, you know, obviously, right? This guy is now no longer a threat. He's done nothing else. That is the only thing that killing this guy accomplishes, right? These guys gain 0 space from this guy dying. All this does is stop him from getting value off of them, right? The kill itself does not create any value for this team, for the red team. Because this guy is so far back into their base, it means nothing in that sense. Which, again, as opposed to this guy dying, this guy can immediately take his space. Now, for these guys to contribute, let's say the gal runs up here and gets this pick instead. This guy now has to swim all the way back to mid, which, again, only takes a few seconds, but that is more than enough time for the rest of these guys to move forward and take powerful positions that were otherwise unavailable. So that is the value of this guy, because this guy doesn't care if he dies, right? So it really just makes it easier for these guys to play the game. And that's also why guns like Tetra love to run quick respawn, right? Because this guy can now have more confidence going in and dying because he knows that even if he doesn't get a pick, which honestly isn't even really his goal, right? If you're playing Tetra, right, you're not necessarily trying to kill people. Like, getting a kill is more just like a bonus for what you're doing. If you can do this, let's say if you can do this and, you know, kill the gal. Let's say you get back here and you kill the guy. That's even better for you because now you remove the gal from play. So now this guy has to respawn, and now the pro is also looking away. So now the option of this guy saying, all right, screw it, I don't want to fight this guy, I'm just going to go back to mid. That's gone completely. So now this guy is the only person on the field that can realistically look at this player. And these guys are still in a 2v2 or a 2v3, but now this guy has to respawn, and now the other team has even more of an advantage. In terms of space and players. But, you know, this guy's goal isn't necessarily to get a kill, right? He really just wants to drag attention. But that's also why you see Tetra players that go, you know, 5 and 12 in a game, because they're not trying to get kills, right? Playing Tetra duelies properly, this is what it's all about. It's just getting them to look at you. And, you know, most of the time what's going to happen, right, is this guy's going to go back here. These guys are going to look at him for a little bit. He's going to die in a couple seconds, right? Maybe not even. But this guy doesn't care, right? Because that's his goal. The amount of time, as long as these guys are looking at you, it doesn't matter what the outcome is, because that's all they have to do. Anything more than that is just a bonus. Running QR just makes this engagement less risky for this guy, because if this guy dies now, you know, he's back in, you know, let's say 2.2 seconds as opposed to 3. And that's 2.2 seconds that these guys now have to swim back to mid and help the rest of their team fight versus 3 seconds. These guys have less time to capitalize on the kill that they just got and, you know, regain the space that they inherently lose when going to kill this guy. And that kind of brings me to my next point, is that KDs don't necessarily... No, that doesn't even... I don't even know how to, like, tie that into the rest of this. Another way this could play out is, you know, let's say these guys are all still alive, right? Let's say these guys are just, you know, kind of, let's say we're not really in neutral anymore. Let's say we're kind of like spaced out a little bit. This guy's over here. This guy's right here, whatever. Let's say this guy rolls through here, right, as the Tetra player does. You know, let's say he rolls down here, and the gal says, hey, I want to kill this guy. This guy sees that this guy's attention is over here and goes, all right, bet. I'm going to swim up here. And while you're looking down here, I am going to shoot you and get a free kill. Why? Because you're not even looking in mid. So I can easily just swim up here and win what is effectively a 1v0 because your camera isn't even pointing in my direction. And now suddenly I have all the space. And now my teammates can also play off that space. So you can see you see kind of what I'm getting at here, right? You can create advantageous situations for your team without getting kills. You can simply just make the opponents look at you. And this isn't exclusive to Tetra either, right? You can do this on other guns. Like, you don't like, these guns are just better at it, but like this shot player, right, can do the same thing. Like, he can just go down here, force it in, like, make this guy look at him, and make this, let's say this ZDS looks at him, right? This gal can go, all right, bet you're gonna look at my shot player, I'm gonna kill you while you're not looking. Even if this guy like turns around like last second, this guy still like has the jump on him just by nature, right, of his camera being faced away. Like, even if he reacts, like it's probably not gonna be enough. Like, this is just an advantageous fight for the gal every single time. Also because gal's a cheating gun, but that's a whole other topic. But yeah, that's kind of the main premise of this. If you're ever in a situation where you're getting a lot of picks, so this just goes to show that your KD doesn't necessarily mean everything, right? This guy can go 5-13 and you'll still win the match because this guy did a really good job at drawing attention and your teammates were able to capitalize on that. But the thing is like, your teammates are going to get kill credit on the results screen, right? If this guy does exactly that and draws attention away, this gal is getting the pick at the end of the day, right? That's not showing up on the results screen. And I think that's the part people need to realize, is that the results screen doesn't show interactions like that. The results screen doesn't also show multi-kills, which is another thing that I want to get into. Which is this one's a lot simpler to explain. But if this gal, right, gets 2 picks at once, right? Let's see, he kills this guy and then quickly kills this guy. You know, pretty realistic scenario, especially right now. These guys just both die, right? We can assume that guy's still alive. This guy's still alive. This guy gets 2, right? That's a much bigger advantage for this team, right? Because now you can all move up and do whatever. You have all the space created when these guys die. All the space is now yours, right? Because now it's just these 2 players. And now there's 4 of you and only 2 of them, right? Pretty simple to understand. That's much more powerful than if you kill one guy and then he respawns, comes back, and then he kills this guy, he respawns, comes back. Like, that's not nearly as impactful, right? Because other things can occur during that time. Like you kill this guy, this guy respawns, but he gets a pick over here, right? During the time that this guy's respawning. So like it's much more powerful. Like, this is kind of obvious, but like, this is much more powerful if this guy kills 2 at the same time. Multi-kills are just inherently more powerful. But again, getting a multi-kill is not going to show up on the results screen, right? Because you can get a multi-kill here, and let's say like your fucking Tetra kills 1 randomly, right? You can now basically just take their plat, and that can win you the game. Like, that alone, that one play can quite possibly just win you the game. But at the end of the game, right, if you show someone your results screen on like Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever, like, you're just like, oh, like that guy just carried. But like, that's like not even true, because like that game can end with like your pen has like goes like 8-2 or something, but like your gal only got like 4, but like 2 of those kills were multi kills. So it looks like this guy got carried, but in reality he's the one that made the game winning play. And this is the point I'm kind of trying to get at here, right? Like, there's other things that occur that aren't necessarily shown by the results screen, right? Like, all these different outcomes and variations of like plays don't like show up. Like you would never known that that had happened unless you watch the replay. Like the results screen just isn't going to tell you that. So that's kind of what that's the main point I'm trying to make here. That's basically all I wanted to cover. Just the idea, like, don't be so quick to blame your teammates when, you know, like if you have a tetra that goes 3-12 and you lose, you can't just immediately be like, oh well, that guy just threw. Like maybe there's a chance that like yeah, maybe they did throw, but like the reality is like this gun's like goal isn't to get picks, so like you can't necessarily be so quick to blame him, you know, without knowing the full extent of what they're trying to do, right? Now, I'm not saying that like dying is good by any means. If you're going very negative in a game, there's a chance that you were just making bad plays and taking bad fights. But my point is like maybe think less about this guy dying 12 times and more about, okay, how did I respond to those deaths, and could I have made better use of this guy's attention that he was likely trying to drag, and play off of that in order to create an advantage. So yeah, that's all I have for today. Take it easy, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. That's not how I want to take the outro. But yeah, that's all I have to talk about today. Let me know if you like this kind of content, and yeah, take care.